In this class, we are going to see a very important concept called as internationalization and localization. I've already told this in last class, but I'm just going to repeat it shortly. I'm only going to highlight the definition of these two words and I'm going to show them in working. How do you do this in Android? Okay. So what is internationalization? It is the process of designing a software or an application or an app so that it can be adapted to various languages. That's all I want you to highlight here. Adapted to various languages. One, okay, the process of designing in such a way that your current app can be converted to a different language app when it is required. This is the process, and that process is called as internationalization. First thing. Second thing is that what is localization then? All right. So once my app is ready to support any language you want, if I'm sitting and writing all my code or whatever I want to convey to the user in my regional or local language, that process is called as localization. Okay. I hope you got the idea between these two words. Internationalization is the idea of creating an app or an application with different or various languages in mind. That's all. All right. But what is localization? Localization is taking that software which is ready to adapt and adapt it to a particular locality. Okay. Like for example, if you're trying to make it into Hindi, all right, the Hindi version, whoever is writing that part, that person who is doing localization. And the main developer who allowed that part has done the internationalization. I hope you got the words here. And yesterday I had also told there's a short form to notate or annotate this. Internationalization is a 20-letter word. So the one I and N is written. In between there are 18 letters. So it's also called as I18N. And localization here, there are 12 letters in the word and L and N is left as it is. So that in between whatever 10 words are there is put as L10N. Short form to write this big words, internationalization and localization. All right, so let me just jump directly into Android Studio to explain how this works. So I am right now in Android Studio. It's a simple application I've created. Okay, I hope you guys can see this. Let me just go into the project structure. All right. So a simple project is there. Nothing is there in the activity right now. There is only one small text view is written. It's too small. I'll fix that shortly. But just look at this where this text is written. Okay. So let me just click on that icon. Let me click on that text view and go to its property. You see there is a text view written. The word text view is written here. And if I go to the warnings, it says hard coded text. Okay, so now if you ask me, is my app internationalized? Okay, no, it is not internationalized. The reason is because your app right now does not support any other language apart from English. Okay, so if you run this app in a system where there is Hindi enabled or Kannada enabled, okay, or any language enabled, you will not be able to see that language. You will still be seeing the word text view. Okay, that's what is written here. It's hard coded string text view. If you use add string resource, you have internationalized your app. This process of converting from hard coded text to making sure that it is coming from an XML file, that thought process, the process of doing that way is called as internationalization. Okay, so I'm going to do both, guys. I'm going to do support for 2 or 3 languages. All right, so since I'm not so sure about the languages, I'm not so fluent in the languages is written, I'll just take 3 or 4. I'll use Google Translate to type them out. Okay, I'll not be sitting and typing that. Okay, so I'm going to just take 3 or 4 languages which I know a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take those as the supportive languages. I'm just going to show you example of 3 or 4 languages. You can take it to any language there is a type support for. Okay, so let me just get into that. Before that, first process, the process what I'm about to do right now with the text which is there, which I'm going to only take 2 text in my app. The app's name, first of all. Second one will be the text bar. Okay, what I put, I'm just going to put the word called welcome. But different languages we are going to put. But basically, it's just an app which says welcome. Okay, why? Because I'm not focused on the app here. I'm focused on the concept of internationalization and localization. All right. So how do I do internationalization in this app? All right. Please note this app. I'm only using one control, but typically your app will have many controls, many text views. All right. So for all, you will have to keep that in mind. That's why proper planning is required in order to start an app. It's very difficult if you don't have a plan. Okay, I'll repeat this later once again. So let me just go into my project and I'll open the resources folder. I'll look for a folder called values and I'll open this strings.xml. Let me just open that strings.xml. Here it is a simple XML file and it already has one without even me writing anything. It already has one called as my application. Okay, this is the only text which system gives you. They have used internationalization. This process is called as internationalization. Why? Okay, the name what they have used here will be the same. That's the name for the developer. Now this name is the default name for any application which is running, which means if I run this app in a phone which does not support or which is kept Kannada or Hindi as the main language, I'll still see the word my application in English. But later, if somebody wants to give support, okay, they can obviously do it. Let me do that this time. But anyway, I'll keep it this way. Let me add one more string resource. Okay, it's very simple to add a string resource. Just follow what is written on top. String name equal to give your own name. So I'll just put str underscore or just give any name. Okay, I'll leave it to you guys how you want it. And between that string and slash string, I'm going to tell just the word welcome. That's all. Nothing else. All right, so this is how you are going to call that keyword, and this is what will be printed in default. By default, this will be printed. But let's say that if you have kept Hindi, I want Swahate, that thing I want there. Okay, so it depends on which language I've chosen in my phone. I want corresponding language word to be written there. How do I do this? Okay, so what is the thing which I did right now? Okay, I've done this. I'm not completed my process yet. I've only created a string resource. I have to link it in the design. How will I link it in the design? Let me just focus on the design a minute. Okay, let me just zoom in a little bit. There is a text view on the control. Instead of typing that text view, I can just say at string resource. All right, so I'm going to call a resource called at string. I hope you guys can see the third choice. What I get here is the one which I just created, str underscore welcome. Let me just choose that. All right, that's the thing. I'll just press enter and you can see whatever I typed there has come here. Let me make it a little bit more visible, guys. So I'll just choose text appearance. I'll take the font as, let's say, cursive, and let me say the property as display. It's too big. Okay, display 3. This is enough. All right, and I'll change the color also. Let me just put some purple color or something. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I've done the text or the text appearance. Okay, so that part I've done, and only welcome is going to be displayed. By the way, please remember the one which I wrote welcome is not available in the attributes. If I click on the attribute in the place where you're supposed to type the text, I am right now having a pointer. It points to at string resource. Okay, so you have a strings.xml. So string resource with the ID called str welcome. That's what we have called here. Str welcome. I just called it and it got this particular word here. Now there is no warning, no message, no warning, nothing, because you have not hard coded the text, but rather what did I do right now? This process of creating a key for a string and calling the key instead of the value is called as internationalization here in Android. How do you mean? You can say what you didn't do anything great, but how do you call this as internationalization? I'll show it to you in shortly. Okay, but internationalization is just the process of designing an app with the intent in such a way that the app adapts to other languages. Okay, right now I've written it in English. I understand that, I agree that. But later when the user wants to give support to another language, he should not be able to sit and write code. Like for example, just think if I am writing code, if language of the phone is equal to Kannada, change all the text into Kannada, or you have to keep on creating that text in Kannada. That's difficult. Okay, so instead of that, we have given a very simple and dignified way of giving language support. Okay, so right now I'll show you how that is done. So the process what I did right now by creating a string resource here in resources strings.xml and calling it in any design for that sake, this process we call it as internationalization because it just follows what is written here. The process of designing an application so that it can be adapted to various languages. Okay, adapting to a different language is called localization. That's what we are doing. Adapting that software for a specific region or language, okay, by translating it, that is called as localization. So let me just do that now. So for that, let me just open Translate, Google Translate. Okay, let me just open Google Translate and keep it. Okay, so that I can put these things. Now, before I proceed, here you only see one language support. You don't see many languages here. For that, I want you to just look at the top right corner of your screen here. All right, there is something called Open Editor. This is available in strings.xml, right side corner. When you open strings.xml, immediately you will get a small message saying that edit translations for all locales. Please note the word locales in the translations editor. So let me open the translations editor. This is the translations editor. Okay, I want you guys to be very careful of how it is written or how the design looks like. This is called as the translations editor. How do I come here? Go to the project, go to the resources, open strings.xml, which is part of values. Okay, in strings.xml, on the top right corner, you'll find the word open editor. Just click on it and you'll get this screen. Simple. All right, so now what you see here is the default text of this key. This is the key, this is the value. Key value. One was created by my system, one I created it. Okay, doesn't matter as long as we have this key here. All right, so one I have done. What is my next step? Now, let's say that I want to give support to different languages. Let's start with Hindi. So I'm going to click on add locale and I'm going to search for, these are languages available, guys. All right, same language in different countries are available. All right, so let me just go to search for Hindi. Okay, in India. All right, so Hindi in India. You can see our country's flag is there. So we can easily identify our version of Hindi. So let me just choose Hindi in India and another column will get created. I hope you guys can see that. Hindi in India. That's the first language I'm going to support. Let me add a few more languages and then I'll give the translation. Second language which I'm going to give is Kannada in India. So I'm going to just choose, I'll search for Kannada. Okay, Kannada in India. Again, our country's flag. Kannada in India, second language. Third one, I'm going to give Malayalam in India. Okay, let me just give a few languages. All right, third, last, I'll also give Tamil in India. Okay, since Tamil is spoken in different places, you will get a lot of choices. You'll have to choose the one which says to India because you see the choices which will be given. The one which has our country flag, okay, Tamil in different languages, or different countries. I'll choose the one which says India. So now I've opened support for this particular program in 4 different languages. I've just chosen Hindi, Kannada, Malayalam and Tamil. Alright, so I have 4 languages and in all the 4 languages by default the word my application is coming. I'm going to replace that shortly. Right now there is an error because you have not given translations for the remaining one. This one they have just taken the default application as it is. So the default value if you do not give support to a language will be this, which is basically English. I hope you guys understand. By default, almost all phones will support English as the default language. But if you are giving support, like for example, if you are selling a phone or an app in China, the default language should not be English. It should be Chinese, all right, Mandarin or whatever the language they are following. All right, so that one will be the default one. Okay, that's their developers' work. But Android as such comes from US. So obviously, the default language will be English. So the operating system which they create will obviously support English as the default language. So since we are also targeting that kind of core Android structure, default value will be in English, which does not have any confusion. No need for internationalization if you are only following English. Please remember that. If your only target is English, this concept itself is not required. But later your company will ask you to convert it into different languages. That's why we are learning this. Okay. So let's do that quickly. I'm going to take this word, my application, and I'm going to find the different alternate, my application as well as welcome in Hindi, Kannada, Malayalam and Tamil. Okay, so let me just do that. So I'll just copy the word my application. Let me go to translate and I'll put that in English. Okay, and I'll convert it into Hindi first. Okay, so I got the Hindi version of that. Sometimes Google Translate will make sense, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, I'm not going to bother about the meaning. The meaning I leave it to the developers. Okay, because I'm not good in these languages right now. But I'm not going to say you have to be very strict in the grammar and all. That is the localization work. The person who does localization should be an expert in the language also. All right, so right now I'm only trying to explain the concept. So I'm going to just copy this. Okay, and please note, I told you already yesterday about something called UTF-8. Okay, the strings.xml here does not have anything except resources and resources. I'll show you shortly how this will change, but let me just remove this word my application from here, and I'll just paste. Okay, please look at what has happened. I just pasted it. Okay, but I have not given UTF-8 support. All right, so the moment I press enter, your system identifies that it is not an English character and automatically applies UTF-8. Okay, it applies a UTF character, so I get the corresponding word, which is the meaning of my application here. Okay, let me also do the second one, welcome. Okay, I'll keep doing them shortly. I hope you understood where I'm going with this. All right, so when I do that, I get swagate. So I'll just copy.
स्वागत है.
Okay, sorry, copy, and I'll put it back into this my application. Right now, when I'm typing, it's not UTF-8, but when I press enter, sorry, I put it in the wrong place. All right. All right. In Hindi, I'll put this word, and it is done. So the Hindi translations for my app is done. Let me go to the second one. Kannada. Okay, so I'll keep this same thing, but I'll just change it into, I'll search for Kannada. All right, so I'll just copy this and I'll put this in the Kannada version here. All right, and then again, my application in Kannada I want, so I'll just put it here. And I got this, I'll just copy this. All right, I put it there. Okay, it's literal translation and okay, so application, it's the same word is coming. Okay, so next let me go to remaining two languages also. I quickly do it. Okay, but I hope you guys got the flow what I'm trying to tell. All right, so I'll just take the word my application. It's already there, so I'm going to just search for another language. Okay, I'll copy that, I'll paste that here. Okay, next one will be welcome in Malayalam, so I'll just type welcome. All right, so let me just copy that and put it here. So I've given the Malayalam translation. Last one, I'll give the Tamil translation also. All right, so the same thing in Tamil. Okay, I'll copy that, I'll paste it there. Sorry, I think this is welcome, right? So here, and this is my application, so I'll just take the word my application, I'll put it here in here and then copy it. Okay. All right. See, I'm basically in the system or in your real world, I will not be giving support for all the languages. There'll be a special person for that particular work, localization. All right. The team which works for that will be sitting and translating this, or they will outsource it to a company which does this for all apps. Okay. So these words, these are the meanings. All right. So by default, the value is this here in your application. And in Hindi, it will give this alternative. In Kannada, this alternative. Malayalam, this alternative. Tamil, this alternative. Like this, you can keep adding support to how many other languages your app is ready to support. Okay, keep this in mind. Now, what is my next work? Nothing. Your work is done. This is called localization. The first part where I created a strings.xml and I created a string resource. Okay, the way I've created a string resource and attached it to, let me show the code here. Okay, how I've attached it here. Please note text. I have not written hard-coded text. Rather, I'm pointing to the strings.xml. This process is called internationalization. Now, if you see, I'll open the project once again for you guys to just see how it works. Look at this, guys. You have strings. There's a folder created. If I open it, you have strings.xml, default one, strings.xml for Hindi, strings.xml for Kannada, strings.xml for Malayalam, strings.xml for Tamil. Okay, so if I choose just any one XML file, you see there's a small extra word written on the top. Okay, I want you guys to focus that. Okay, encoding UTF-8. I showed this yesterday in the class using Notepad. But idea is still the same, right? If it's English, you don't require encoding basically. If it's just English characters A to Z. Okay, but then if you're going to bring in characters which not belong to that alphabet, 26 alphabets of English, then you will have to convert it into UTF-8 format. Okay, like that, you have different strings.xml which will be automatically pulled. I didn't write this code, guys. You know how I wrote it or how I did it. Okay, this is all you need to do. This process, what I did here of giving translation for each and every word which is here, this process is called as localization. Now let's see how it works in your app. Okay, so let me just run this app in my emulator. Okay, so while the emulator is running, I'll also show you how to open the settings and change your phone's language. I think you guys already know that, but please note that your phone by default will have enabled only one language called English. All right, so let me just open settings. Okay, in settings you'll have to find, or you can just search for a setting called languages. Okay, so right now it's installing and it's launching an activity. Will just say welcome. This is the app which we have created, guys. Okay, nothing is there in the app except for the application's name. Please note this part, my application's name, and the welcome, the word which I have put. That's all is there. Nothing else is there in the app. Let me just cut out of it and come back here, and let me go and change my system's language. Okay, so my system says the language by default will be English. Okay, so not the input, guys, not the keyboard, the language of the phone. This is the keyboard input. I don't bother about right now that. Let me just open the languages, and you see one language is there, which is English United States, which I did not choose. By default it came. All right, so let me now change or add a new language. Okay, I'll just click on add and I'll search for whatever languages I have already given support for, and I'll just check them. Okay, so first one is Hindi. I'll add that to my list of languages. Okay, second language. If English is not found, second language will be Hindi here. Okay, like that. There is a order. Obviously, English is available, so no other language will take precedence there. Okay, so anyway, I'll search for the next language. Okay, I think. Okay, let me add a new language. I clicked on this search. Okay, anyway. Kannada. I think then Malayalam and Tamil. Only two more. I'll just add them quickly. Okay, one more. Okay, now just because I chose these five languages doesn't mean all the five languages will be shown to me. Okay, what I have done is basically I have just chosen the one which says these are languages which are there in your phone right now. I'll have to replace the way in which it happens. Okay, let's say for example, instead of English, I take Tamil and put it on the top. So I tell first preference, give it to Tamil. Now your system will refresh. Okay, and it will change the entire language of your phone to Tamil now. Okay, so right now you can see that even the settings app has changed. Okay, I'll just click on home button because I want to come back here. All right, so here you see that the phone's language has changed to Tamil. Okay, so if I open here my apps, all the apps are right now okay, in Tamil it is alphabetically organized. Okay, so here my app is here. Please note this is the icon which I have sent. Okay, so whatever you see here, the title of my app was my application. The alternate for Tamil is written as Enadu Vinnapam. That one, that I'm going to just tap on it. Okay, so this is the app which I have installed. Let me just open and see how my app has changed it. Okay, so now my app application title is whatever is here, and what I wrote as welcome, the corresponding word is put here. Okay, let me go back and let me open the settings of the language once again. This time I am not going to keep this one. Okay, I'll just change it from English, not from Tamil. I'll just put some other language on top. Okay, so now give it a little bit time. The system will automatically change everything. Now let me go back to my app and see whether it works. Okay, if it's not possible for my app to understand what is happening, okay, you can see this here, my app's title and my app's text. Okay, let me do this again for another language. Okay, so I'm just checking whether all the languages which I supported or what I put there is working or not. So now I'm making Kannada as the first language in the list, which means first target. Okay, so what if I can't target? Second target will be this. If this is not found, third target is this. If this is not found, fourth target is this. Never remove English from there. You will be in a fix after that, because Some apps do not support any other language apart from English. So it's always better to keep English as a default language. So if none of these are supported, it will fall down to English. Okay, so now let me go back to my app and check whether my app has picked what I've done. Yes, it has picked. What is coming here is now in my app also. All right, so that's it. Okay, let me put it back to English again and check my app once again. Okay, now everything went back to how it was in the beginning. Okay, so let me just now go back to my app. Yes, it all went back to normal. So what have I done so far? I have enabled my app to be internationalized. The process of making my app allowed or adapt to other languages, that process is called as internationalization, and where I kept translating each and every key into a corresponding language, that is called as localization. I hope this is clear to you guys. Okay, so any questions guys for this? I'll stop this localization here. The next program we'll do later. Okay, I thought I'll just pause for a minute. If you have any questions, please do ask. Otherwise, please try this in your system when you're free. All right, and see whether you are able to support other languages. Now, if you ask me, should I do this for all the apps which I'm doing? No, not in college. Okay, I'm just giving you an exposure saying that this is how apps give various support. In your phone, check, change your language to a language which you can read, and see how many apps do support internationalization. Which means, like for example, just go to your phone. Those who can read and write Kannada, please do change it into Kannada and check. All right, whether your phones or all phones in your all apps in your phone supports Kannada properly or not, you see. And wherever you see English instead of Kannada, which means they have not given you support for any other language. Which means they have written hard coded text. Which means not only that, there are two choices. One, they have hard coded the text. Second one, they have not given localization. Now, for example, I have not given an option for a language. Let's say, let me take another language like Marathi. Okay, so I've not given support to this language. So what if I change my phone's language to Marathi? Okay, so let me just open my phone's language settings. Okay, but please note what I said. I have not given support to a language called Marathi, but I'm going to just try to add a new language. Okay, or Telugu or whatever language you want. Okay, so I'm going to just choose a language which I have not given support for. Okay, I'll just put that on top. Your Android, the operating system supports that language, but sadly that I have not written app localization for that particular app. So what should happen? Let me go back to my app. I hope you guys can see that. What happened? Nothing. Why? Because I did not give support to that language. So in your phone, when you change the language to Kannada or Hindi or whichever language you're comfortable with, the moment you change the phone's language, guys, not the app's language, the phone's language, the settings, if you're going and changing the phone's language, and if you see an application which does not change its text and it is still showing you English, two chances are there. One, they have not given support. They have done internationalization, but not for the language which you have chosen. So what will be called? Default value will be called. What is the default value? My application, welcome. All right, the default value basically should be in English. That's all. So it fell back. Okay, so what if my language does not have that support, or the default language is not available in my laptop or in my phone? Automatically your system will crash, your app will crash. Okay, if it cannot find something which it requires, it will crash. That's the idea. Now I hope this is clear to you guys, right? So now let me go back and change, because my phone entirely will be changed to Marathi. So let me put it back to English. Okay, there will be no difference in my app, but the idea, I hope you got the idea what I'm trying to convey through this particular concept. Okay, I hope you have understood this, guys. So I'll stop internationalization, globalization and all those things here. All right, let's go to the program. I hope there is no questions here. Okay, there is no programming involved also. It doesn't require programming. It's the idea. Okay, it's the concept of creating a code which will be adaptable. Okay. Now, there is one more thing which I wanted to clarify. Some of them asked a question when you are setting the text. Okay, so let me go back to main activity or design. Let me come first. Okay, so there is a text view in the design. Okay, and as soon as the system loads, as soon as the system or this activity loads, I want to change this text to from welcome to my application. Let's say something like that. Okay. If I wanted to change that, how would you write the code? Okay, it's very simple. I'm not using a button. I'm just saying in the design it is showing welcome, but as soon as this application is ready, I want this application to show something else. How do I do that? Let me go to main activity. Let me not write it on create. I know that on resume is the correct one to write. Why on resume? Because only when it reaches on resume position, your application is truly ready to be interactive. So I'm writing the code here. It doesn't matter. You can write it on create also, just to understand the life cycle. I hope you would have understood the life cycle by now. But anyway, let me move forward. Let me first call that text view object here. So text view, let me create it as display something, display txt is equal to find view by id r dot id dot. Please note I did not give an id properly. It is still showing text view only. I'm going to just show that because I have only one text view here. I'm not going to change the name right now, and I'm saying display text dot set text. Okay, set text. I want you guys to notice that before I write the set text part. Let me go to strings.xml and okay, here I will first remove that text here. Okay, so that there'll be an empty text. Okay, or I'll just hard code it here. I'll just put the word hello. I've hard coded it, guys. Please note right now I've hard coded it. Okay, and what's the error? Compilation error, because I've not finished the code yet. Okay, so now I'm going to set the text. Okay, so I'm going to set text programmatically. This is in the design phase. What have I written? In the design I've written hello, but when you click on or when you open this application, I want that text to be dynamically called by my code. Okay, so when I'm going to call set text, okay, this is the method which I wanted to call. I want you guys to see. I hope it's visible. How many overloads are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 overloads are there for the same method called as set text. Okay, but basically we'll be focused on the first two only. All right. Some of them asked, when I pass set text C, the sum of A and B, if I put directly C, what happened? I got an error. Why am I getting an error? Because the first overload says int resource ID. How do I call a resource ID? Okay, number one, you can call a resource ID from string. Okay, I've already created a string. So where will I call it from? R dot string dot. You can see that there are two F stands for field, guys. Okay, some people will call it as a variable, some people call it as property, some people call it as attribute. Some places we also call it as field. That's why the F word comes here. Okay, so F alphabet means field here. I've created two F alphabets here. So you see, one is app name, that's a field. Second one is str welcome. Okay, two are there. I'm going to just call str welcome. Now, please note, I have not set the text as a number. What have I passed? I've passed an integer. Okay, I hope you guys follow. Set text takes two major overloads. One is int, one is character sequence. What is the sequence of character? String. So basically it takes integer and string as major parameters. Okay, so if I just pass 50, okay, who am I talking to? That 50 means a resource ID. Okay, instead of that 50, you would have put C or a particular numbers variable, like say int C is equal to A plus B, and then put C here. Okay, this C will be understood as the resource ID, not as a number. Okay, that is why you're getting an error. So how do I fix that? I told you to put that with double quotes. Then it goes that the problem goes because you are now tricking the compiler to think that it is a string, because whatever concatenated with a string is basically a string. So if I don't want to pass a string and I want to call a string resource, okay, a string resource which is here, you will have to write, you know that it is XML which gets translated to Java. So resources will be translated to capital letter R. String remains the same in that one str welcome. Please note the flow. Resources inside that string, inside that str welcome. So how do I write that? R dot string dot str welcome. Done. Okay, let me run the program now and check whether it still supports what I've written. So in the design phase, activity says hello, but when it runs, it should say welcome. Okay, so let me just destroy this activity so that it should run once again. I've destroyed the activity now. Gradle build is running. It's asking to terminate. Let it terminate and then restart once again. So now it's installing that app in my phone. Design phase, it is showing hello only. All right, but when it runs, when the app resumes, now it is showing welcome. How did that welcome work? Because I passed a resource ID. What is the resource ID? String resource. Whatever resource it is, it will be converted. When it gets converted, it gets a unique integer ID. So always when you write this, remember if you see int res ID, it means resource ID. And do not pass whatever you want there. It has to be called from R. Remember this, guys. It's very, very important to understand this. Okay, so your will this work with different languages? Yes, of course it will work, because you are only pointing to the strings resources. Okay, that's it. So this is one thing, guys. I hope you have understood internationalization and localization. It is not a big major part of your syllabus, but it is very much essential for you guys to understand how apps support languages. Okay,